Hello and welcome back. This is the fourth episode of this ATV electric conversion, and in this episode you will see me tearing it apart and cleaning all the parts and paint it and do the assembling. As usual, you can see a short summary at the time up here, I think. So you can see what I've done. Enjoy and check out the summary, and I also have a new project. Quite fun, I think. This is one of my next upcoming projects. I got inspired by the Tiger electric snowmobile, and I felt I must build one of my own. This is going to be quite radical, I hope. Starting to deassemble the chassis. Checking parts if they are worn out. Well, I had some problem with four-wheel drive on the left-hand side, and as I checked on the internet, this is a magnetic actuator here, and if I put 12 volt into it, it works. So that was not the problem. But when I took this apart, I found out that these hub system brakes blind part was damaged. So this one is broken. But I found it on eBay for 680 Swedish crowns. So I bought two of them, and also two of these cost $25. No, 124 Swedish crowns. So I bought two of these too. So I will exchange on both sides. So this was a bit damaged. It's not straighted, because there must have been parts flying around into the hub. Make some damage to this piece. So now hopefully I will have the four-wheel drive working when I get these new parts. I think I've thrown half my toolbox on the floor. I have teared the front end apart. Here you can see the struts and drive shafts. Some broken parts here also. I have to change, but the knock itself was okay. Now I'm going to start with the rear end. To push out these bushings a bit, because there were also a fitment into the hub. That's why it didn't get loose, and I'm afraid also it stuck. The drive shaft stuck into the transfer gearbox. I've used maybe a bit too much force, but I cannot get it loose. There's a lot of pieces and parts on this ATV, and everything is stuck. I did not have the ability to remove the rear drive shafts. I tried everything. Now I've cleaned all the parts, and now I'm gonna grind. All parts are gonna paint, and also exchange some bearings and bushings. And then I'm gonna start painting. Hopefully I will paint the primer this evening. painted the chassis. It's one layer with primer and 2 layers of grey top coat. Here you can see all the fixing points, and also that the transfer gearbox is one of the main structures of the chassis. Here are all the details, wishbones and brackets, different sorts. Just waiting for this to dry properly, and then I'm going to start the funniest part, who is to assembly all these new painted and fresh parts. Well, it's going to be interesting to see the weight. I think the weight on the rock roller was almost familiar. Chassis was naked without any wishbones or something, was 67 kilos. This is going to be interesting. $61.1 kilo. It's 6 kilos lighter than the rock roller. Now I'll put some plates underneath so I can start the assembly. This is aluminum plates. It's just thin, 1 millimeter thin. Yes, now I'm doing some fixing of the aluminum plates to protect battery and cockpit from dust and gravel and stuff. And I'm putting 1 millimeter aluminum plates, and I'm using this sealing compound. And then I have 4.8 rivets. So it's also making the frame even stronger. This is the best part, when you get new spare parts and you can assemble it, and everything is cleaned up, and it looks nice. Here I just repainted the rear shocks and yeah, some new bushings, but it's a big difference from when I bought it. Yes, and I also have these pivot bushings. Sits on top like that. It's the bearing for the Persian unit. Well, I extended the chassis with 260 millimeters. Was it? Oh, doesn't matter. But the cardan axle is too short, and my first idea was to cut it and then extend with another thicker axle. But I think I'm gonna cut it here and then I use a tube, because I think that solution will be more lighter. And so I make some bushing here, and then I cut it and then put an extension with a tube. Well, now I cut the cardan axle, and then I use my latte to make these bushings, and it's 19 and 26, so I can fit this tube, who is 30 millimeter. Then I just gonna measure the length and weld it. Then it's finished. Well, now I welded the cardan axle, and I'll see if it fits. Well, not 100%, but it's okay. Yes, now I got my new parts from eBay for the four-wheel drive. In Sweden this costs 3,200 Swedish crowns, and I bought it from eBay. It was only 600 Swedish crowns, so it's a huge difference, even though we have to pay taxes and import costs. It's so much cheaper. Yeah, and new bearings. And the hub. New bearing. Well, now I used my latte to machine this splines shaft that fits on the transfer gearbox, and here I got my sprocket. So I'm just gonna push this together, and then I'm gonna weld the sprocket to this. As you can see now, things are getting into position. I mounted the motor, made the chain transmission finished, also put control in place, did the wiring from between the motor and the controller. I will put the auxiliary battery underneath here, and the DC-DC converter I will just bolt underneath the floor. And I will also make a separate wiring for the 12 volt lightning and the pump, so I don't mix it up with the controller wiring. To this DC-DC inverter, the yellow one here is for ignition. So when I turn ignition, it activates the DC-DC inverter, and that's a good thing. Now I started with these temper plates again. I just tape one side, I know it's straight, and then I just mark it on the back side with a pencil, and then I try to bend, and then I just put them on the aluminum plate and cut it. So it's not that hard if you do this template properly. Some cutting and marking and something like that. Now we're going to transform this into a piece of aluminum plate, and I also will see if it fits on the other side. I doubt it, because I make most of my constructions on freehand, but we'll see. Now I am a bit surprised. It's just a couple of millimeters, so it fits. Yes, it fits. Now I'm going to do the other side. Now I put some more plates in position, and now I started to do the wiring of the four-wheel drive system and connect it together with the maneuver dashboard. Well, it was a lot of work with these cooling hoses, and everything as usual is all in the same place. So where the junction box are, the fuses goes, and so on. But I think I can pass them underneath, and I have to put the pump underneath here, next to the radiator. This was the only place to fit it. Well, now I've done the plumbing. Now we'll see if it's watertight. I think this is 50% glycol in this one. I also fitted the pump and done the wiring to the pump so I can test it. this is only water if it's mixed. No. I think I have to add some water in that. Yeah, but now I can run the pump. Something is happening. Yes, now we'll start wiring up all the electrics. And as I mentioned before, I took this from the electric coast card, so everything is pre-wired and working. But you can find all these how to wire it up in the controller user manual. And there you have the pinouts for every of these connectors, and you also have an electric diagram. Standard wire diagram, and it's very easy to just follow the connectors and do the wiring. And the thing I usually do is that I buy these main connectors, relays, from the same place where I buy the controls, Kelly Controls, and that's kellycontrols.com from China, and they also supply these pre-charge resistors. But I've been up to that I broke one of these, so I usually now I switch them to these 25R resistor instead, and these are more durable. You should also have one of these diodes connected to the coil, so you don't get its spikes when you turn the main relay on and off. This doesn't look that nice, but it's working, and I did it like this because I want to have everything within this watertight box, and it got a bit crowded in there. Now I will start, I will put this in place, and I will also start wiring the lights and four-wheel drive system, and also the electric cooling pump. And I will also wire this coulometer, and that's on the minus side of the battery. You have this shunt, and then you can see how much voltage and power and so on you have. Well, now I've done the connecting for the 12-volt system, and I put two relays here. And one is for the lighting, and the other one is for the cooling pump, and also to activate the four-wheel drive system. Now I put the junction box where it should be, and as you can see, it's a lot of wiring and plumbing, and everything tends to be in the same place. But that's what you have to live with. Now I'm just gonna find out how to put all the wires so it doesn't get in something. I'm working with the wiring to make it a bit tidy, but it's a bit tight. I made some fenders so I don't get so much dirt in the cockpit. Now I took apart the electric snowcross and borrowed the battery, and I'm gonna see if it fits. So also so I can mark where to drill the hole so I can bolt it to the chassis. Oh, sorry. Won't be easy to put them both there. Now I put the floor in, and I also drilled a hole for the battery pack so I can bolt it to the chassis. And now I'm gonna fit that one. Then I have the shunt for the coulometer, and then it's time for some test spin, and I really hope it works. Place like this, it's so much things on the same place, so even if you think you have a lot of space when you start build, it's always gets complicated because there are so much wiring and so much cables, and you don't want to have things get in touch with each other, with the things that moves, and these 96 volt cables with a lot of amperage. This is the ground wire for the battery. I connect it to the controller, and here I'm going to put my shunt for the colorimeter. But I marked this with black tape, so I know, because I didn't have the correct size on the cable. That's why it's red with black stripes. Well, now everything is wired up, and I tested it, and it works. But I have a problem with the forward drive on that side. It doesn't work. But if I turn the switch on and forward on and put the high in position here, and then like that, it's kind of noisy. Now I put the forward drive in. It's engaged on that side, but not on that side. Strange. Okay, here's a short summary. I've changed worn parts, new bearings, bushings, and coilovers in the front. I put some protection for the radiator, put the pump underneath there, hoses and wires stuck there, put some aluminum plates, almost looked like a Cybertruck, lights on top, battery in place, it's from the electric snow bike, motor, housing, junction box, everything is a bit crowded there, but it works. I have this colorimeter and the switches for four-wheel drive and so on, ignition switch, some small fenders in the rear. I think I have to make them bigger. Yes, it's about that. Well, it's dark outside, so there won't be any test run today, but I can show you just a little one inside. It works. Test run will come very soon, I promise.